All right, time for Morning Beat. That fatal helicopter crash on Kauai last month has put the air tour industry and federal regulation under some fresh scrutiny. Matthew Leonard from Civil Beat joining us to talk more about this. Good morning to you.
Good morning, Grace. Hi.
Just first of all, in your research, what did you find out about the NTSB in looking at this crash?
So what was remarkable was that just a week before the fatal crash that killed 3 people, the NTSB had actually written to the Federal Aviation Administration about a warning of concerns that there was a likelihood of of accidents in the helicopter industry in Hawaii. So then we have an accident, fatal accident, a week later, and it's showing that the NTSB was still concerned that many of the recommendations from the last major fatal crash in 2019, when 7 people died, hadn't been implemented by the FAA. So it was essentially kind of the NTSB just kind of continuing to hammer on the FAA as the overarching agency to get some recommendations in place and to improve safety for the industry.
There's so many interesting parts of your article. One of them to me was the fact of the sheer number of air tours that are just on Kauai versus the rest of the state.
Right, and so Kauai makes up 40% of the air tour traffic is in Kauai. More than half of the landings at Lihue Airport are just air tours. So there's a huge density of traffic there. If you look at the flight radar, you can sort of see this kind of line of helicopters going around, more than 80 flights a day. So that creates a huge amount of challenge, I think, in terms of managing, tracking, and really keeping an eye on the safety record of a lot of the helicopters that are actually flying in that route too.
Yeah, all the traffic out there. Now, specifically for the crash that we're talking about last month that killed 3 people, you discovered something strange about the route that helicopter took.
Right. So one of the remarkable things, so the very experienced pilot, Guy Croydon, had flown that route 3 times before that same day. The fatal crash, it was clear from a reconstruction of the flight that there was something different happened, particularly when they got to Waimea Canyon. It looked like they encountered turbulence. I confirmed there were actually 2 aviation weather warnings that were active out there from from NOAA, saying that there was the likelihood of turbulence. And the model of helicopter that crashed, this Robinson R-44, is well known, has a very well documented history of performing poorly in turbulence and high winds. And its own manufacturer actually issues safety notices and has extensive training material about the problem of flying in turbulence. So what it looks like from the evidence of the data that we have is that there was clearly an issue with turbulence that affected the stability of the Robinson, and this particular model has a particular problem where the helicopter blade can tilt on the very tall mast above the cabin, and in worst case scenarios it can strike the tail or the cabin of the helicopter. Now this actually happened in another fatal crash in Washington State just 3 weeks before the crash on Kauai. So there's a real kind of pattern of issues with this particular aircraft, which is very popular and is in widespread use. There's like at least 10 or 12 still flying over Hawaii today.
Wow, the Robinson R-44.
Right.
Something to watch out for. There are so many details, and it's really fascinating. You should read the full article. You can find that at civilbeat.org. You can get the newsletter texted to you, 66866. Matthew, I want to thank you for coming here today to talk more about this.
You're welcome, Grace.
All right, we'll be right back.